Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing on today? We apologize for the delay. We are super duper excited. It's the Literary Cafe. And guess what, guys? We are hanging out with Susan May Warren. She has a new one. Not only, guys, is it a new book for her, but this is a new series for her as well. It is called Track of Courage. And Susan, just so you know, you had me at romantic suspense. Romantic suspense, yes, please. Okay. So I'm super
Right.
duper excited. Guys, you already know what to do. Like, tag, and share. Tell a friend to tell a friend to come on down to the cafe because we're hanging out with Susie May Warren and her new release, Track of Courage. And Susan, before we get started, my friend, introduce yourself to the people.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm Susie May Warren, and I am an author. I've written mostly romantic epic adventure or romantic suspense. I also write contemporary romance, a little bit of rom-com here and there, and also historicals. But my main love is that big epic romantic suspense, and so that's what I love, and that's what I've written over 100 books. Most of them in the wilds of Montana or Alaska or Minnesota. Every once in a while my characters go off the grid and decide to go to Europe or or Australia or something like that. But for the most part, those are my places that I like to settle. And I write big epic family series. And so whether it's a found family like a team or if it's a
Yeah,
family, I just love big families and found families. And so I write a lot of that
I
kind of stuff.
love
So
that.
yeah.
Well, Susan, you have said a mouthful. Okay, first of all, I love the adventures of that romantic suspense, what have you. But let's go back. You indicated that you have written over 100 books. Kudos. That
Oh,
is
thank you.
amazing.
Yes,
Susan,
thank you.
what is that like for you to be an author of over 100 books?
Well, it's busy, and you know what it is? It's confusing sometimes because I'll sit down to write a story and I'll think, "Let's see, what name should I use? Oh man, I don't know what to," and then I'll come up with a name and I'll think, "Have I used that name before? I can't remember if I've used that name before." So it can be and then also the plotting, right? Like I have to be like, okay, I got a new plot. I got to figure out the plot. Is how do I make it fresh and new and different, and so that it's not the same. I mean, there's only a few tropes in the world, right? So you have to think, okay, if I'm doing Grumpy Sunshine, who's the grump? Who's the sunshine? How can I make it different? So that question is always on my mind as I'm crafting a book: is what are my readers going to love? What story are they going to love? How do I make it different? And entertaining, and also with new characters that, or maybe we're exploring similar themes like forgiveness or second chances or something, but it has to be different and new and fresh. So that's kind of my challenge. And once you reach a certain benchmark, you're like, well, I'm gonna have to up my brainstorming game a little bit.
I love that. I love that. We have Helen joining us. Hello, Helen. Thank you so much for joining us on today. Guys, if you're just joining us, y'all already know here at the cafe, we love a good romantic suspense. We are hanging out with Susan May Warren, her new release and new series. This is the Call of the Wild series. It is called Track of Courage. And so, Susan, before we go any further, my friend, we have to talk about this cover. And I'm going to spill a little bit of tea early, guys. I've actually seen the cover for book 2 in the series, and it is just as good. But Susan, when you received the first cover, the final cover design, what was that like for you, my friend?
Oh, well, you always love to get a new cover, right? Because all you can do is think about, how does this encapsulate my character? How does it tell the story right from the first cover? From the first glance, the reader has to be able to feel the story. They have to know what it's about. They have to sense what they're going to experience as they open up that book. So I have to say, my cover designers at Revell, they just knock it out of the park every single time. They bring their best game, and they are always trying to think, is this cover going to tell and make a promise to the reader of what they're going to find inside?
I love that. I love that. And outside of the cover, Susan, I love a title. The first book in the series is called Track of Courage. Now, if you can spill a little bit of tea for us, was Track of Courage, was that your original working title or did it come later?
So actually, that was my working title. I have to say, Revell is great.
Really?
They work a lot with my titles, and so they didn't they I think they changed the last one, But I really work hard, and when I put a series together, I work really hard on the covers and the titles and the concepts, and so that they all, because all of my series are very tight, they work together. So I always like to have something that's, that we can, so when I present it to them, they can say, oh, I see what this is. I see what kind of story we're writing here. I can see the series. So yeah, so that was thankfully that was my title, and they kept it. But the publisher always has the right to change the title, because what
Mhm.
happens is that the author gets very into their story. They get it's in their head, and they see the story and what it's all about. But the publisher is all about selling the book, right? So the author's creating the story and the mood and the experience, but the publisher has to partner with the author, and they have to take that story and give it to the world. And so the publisher uses their marketing skills and their understanding of their reader and the market and all those things, and they partner with the author to create the right cover and create the right title and the back cover copy and the kind of marketing and all that kind of stuff that happens. And so it's very much of a partnership, and I do trust Revell quite a bit. I mean, they really have been in this business for a long time. They know what they're doing. So I try to just defer to them. They
I
and say,
love
hey, you
that.
guys know what you're doing. In this case, yeah, if they wanted to change it, I would be okay with that.
Now, okay, now Susan, share a little bit of insight with us because this is a new series or what have you. Can you share with us kind of twofold what inspired this new in series Call of the Wild, and also kind of what inspired book one, Track of Courage? So kind of a two-part question there as far as the inspiration.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I have written a number of search and rescue series. This is kind of my little thing that I do. And I love search and rescue, and I love, sort of exploring the profession of search and rescue personnel and how they deal with the search and rescue and then the aftermath and all that kind of stuff. So I've always loved that sort of thing. And so I created a series last year called Air One Rescue. And Air One Rescue is in Alaska, and it's about these brave people that chopper in to get people or go on hikes or hang from the mountainside or whoever it is, right? And in that, so it was a found family, a team, and one of the cousins of the team was a cop, and his name was Dawson. And in that series, Dawson, the cop, got hurt. And so I'm just going to park that right there. So he got hurt. And in that time that I was writing that series, my editor from Revell said, hey, Susie, you haven't written any dog books. And I know you love dogs. I had written about 2 dog books in the 100 books that I've written. And she says, you haven't written very many dog books, and people like dogs. And just, I know you do SAR, but you haven't really done canines. What if you did something like that? And I was like, good idea. And I just love it. I love it when my editors bring me ideas. It's just great. So I was like, I could do that. And I did happen to have a dog in that particular series, and
Uh-huh.
he didn't belong to anybody. He was kind of a stray dog. So I was like, what if I took Dawson, who immediately when Dawson walked on the page, I knew he had to have a story. He had his own character. He was very interesting, very complex guy. And I was like, he needs his own story. And so then I thought, well, what if I put Caspian, my dog, with him? And what if I made Caspian not a typical canine, but somebody
Yeah.
special? So I started to explore what that might look like, and I had Dawson get a total knee replacement in his backstory, which I have
Yeah.
had and I hated and I don't love it, and it was a real challenge for me. And so I thought I'll write that into the story. And what would that do to a cop, a former cop who wants to get back on the job, but he can't because he's struggling, and now he's got this dog, and this dog doesn't fetch, and he doesn't do any of the things that he expects a dog to do. And there's a reason why he doesn't, but Dawson doesn't know. So you have Dawson, and then I had a character that lived in Copper Mountain, where my little town was from, and I've used this town for a lot of books, a lot of series. And there was a girl there, a woman there, her name's Vic. And Vic is a very interesting gal. She's a barkeep, or she owns the bar. She owns the Midnight Sun Bar and Grill. And she's a former cop from Chicago. And I said, what's her story? So I
Yeah.
created a character, that I thought would be a good fit to bring out Vic's story. And you see more of Vic through the series. But and then during all this time, Taylor Swift was dating Kelsey, Travis Kelsey, or whatever his
Yeah.
name is. And and they had their romance and they got engaged, and I was like, this is so interesting. And I thought a big gigantic pop star like that had secrets, right? I'm not saying Taylor does. This was just my brainstorming idea. And I said, what if she had secrets? And what if one of the secrets was that her birth mom, and you find this out in the first page, so I'm not giving anything away, her birth
Yes.
mom lived in Alaska and she needed to contact her for some reason. And so I was like, okay, so we got Dawson, the grumpy, hurt cop with his strange
Yeah.
dog, and Kelsey, the huge pop star who goes by her pop
Yes.
name Bliss, and she gets into trouble. And so what happened is I like to have really fast stories and really tight knit stories. So what I had these bad guys that I had kind of set up in previous series, and I had a plane crash at the beginning of the book. And every book, there's 3 people on the plane that survive, and every book follows one of these particular people as the search and rescue team goes out to find them. And the first book is about Keely and Dawson, and how, Keely's one of the people on the plane. She gets away and she is lost in the woods, and Dawson somehow gets involved and goes to find her. So it's their story. And it's kind of what happens when you get off grid. They have to survive. And of course, it's in Alaska. So you've got blizzards and all sorts of
Lots
dangers.
of
And so,
snow. I mean, you got
yeah,
people chasing you.
yeah.
They're in Alaska. And Susan, one of the things that I loved about this story is, guys, let me tell you, Susan hits you with a headliner at the very beginning. This book takes off at the very beginning. Okay, she paints the pictures of these characters. You got Dawson, you got Keely, you got Vic. There's some other characters too. And like she said, right at the very beginning, there is this plane crash, and all of the things begin. And I love that you did that, like right at the beginning. It's almost like, Susan, you capture our attention quickly and you hold it throughout the book. But I mean, it's romantic suspense. We got to love it. It's adventurous as well. But can you tell us a little bit more about, let's talk about Alaska, because Alaska is almost like a character in itself as well. What inspired you to set this story in the wild, in such an unforgiving landscape? Because, guys, let me tell you, it's a blizzard. I mean, it's all these things. But for you as a writer, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I like the construct of man against nature a lot in terms of stories. That's the kind of stories I gravitate to, is how do you survive? So I was always a fan of those kind of shows about survival and how they, kind of get through a tough time in the woods or at sea or something like that. So Alaska is a really great escape for, or really great usage for me, because I'm, in Alaska, all these things happen. Now, I had a son that was born in Alaska. I've been to Alaska many times. I love Alaska. It's gorgeous. It's vast. It's very untamed. I mean, you can be driving even in Anchorage and see a moose, that sort of thing. And so it's, you just never know what's going to hit you in Alaska. I'm always intrigued about people that have the courage to live in Alaska. I've been to Anchorage. I know that it's a normal city. They have neighborhoods just like everybody else. But, then you've got those people that sort of live out in the woods and the sticks without any, plumbing or electricity. And you're like, how do they do that? It's so interesting. So, but there's also many different kinds of people in Alaska. And so I've always been drawn to Alaska television shows and Alaska movies. So, excuse me. So I just decided I'm going to start putting things in Alaska. So I've had probably 4 or 5 series set in Alaska now, mostly up around this little town that I created up south of Denali and the park there. And it's just a town that's kind of riffed off another town. But, you can do all sorts of things from, grizzly attacks, wolf attacks, moose attacks. People get lost in the woods. People go down whitewater rapids while crossing a river. People fall off cliffs. They have ice jams. They have, yes, avalanches, all sorts of things. So yeah,
All sorts of things.
it's
Look,
just
all the
great. There's just
perils can happen.
yeah. And I usually try to make like a giant list before I'm writing. I make a list of all the things that could happen in Alaska. And then I like circle like 5. Okay, I'll do these 5. And then
Wow.
the next book, I'll do
Look,
like these 5.
talk about giving us a little tea of your behind the scenes. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Guys, if you're just joining us, we are hanging out with Susan May Warren. It is her new release, Track of Courage, guys, it is out now. It is hot off the press. Book 2 is coming in a couple of months as well. But we're here today talking about Track of Courage. Now, Susan, let's talk about these characters a little bit. And so before we kind of go into them individually, I want for you to think about the characters that make up Track of Courage. Is there a character that was interesting, borderline fun for Susan to write? But on the flip side, is there a character in Track of Courage that was a little more complex? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The dog. The dog is, I was telling my editor, the dogs just killed me in this series. And I don't know how other authors handle the dogs, but to me, the dog was another character, right? So like
Wow.
I had to create a journey for the dog. Like he wasn't just there as a set piece. He was there as a part of the story, and he had to have his own journey. So Caspian has a problem. So when I write stories, I start out with everybody's got a problem. And no matter who's on the page, everybody's got a problem. Even if they are side characters, they've got a problem. Now, sometimes side characters don't necessarily have to solve all their problems, but I try to make it so that everybody has a problem that they're trying to solve throughout the story. So when you have a canine book, the dog has to have a problem. And his problem was he was trying to help his master, and his master didn't realize it and thought he was annoying.
Right.
And so poor Caspian is struck the whole time with, hello, here to help you, pay attention. And so that was my heart. In fact, to be truly, you want to see behind the scenes, I wrote the book. I sent it to a girlfriend of mine who's really great with dogs. She's got CNI dogs, and she knows trained dogs, like comfort dogs and all this. She knows dogs very well, the different kinds of trained dogs. And she wrote back to me and she says, I've loved every book you've written except this one.
Mm.
I get it.
Yeah.
And I was like, ouch. I knew she was right, but I was like, So I set the book aside. I spent about 2 more months just researching all the layers that I could. And she says, everything else works. It's the dog. And I was like, oh, you're right. So I had to go back and I had to really work on the dog and make it a great arc throughout the story. So
Wow.
that was the hardest of all 3 books. Like every single book, the dog was my biggest challenge because I really wanted him to become an integral part of the story and also change and grow throughout the story. So yeah, I don't know. So that was my challenge.
Wow. Wow. And then on the flip side, which character was like interesting, borderline fun for Susan to write?
Oh, I think Keely was the most fun. She was like a fish out of water,
Uh-huh.
and yet she was very spunky and she had definite ideas of how she wanted to live. They end up at this really unique place and she kind of comes to life there, I think,
Mhm.
in ways that she didn't realize. I loved her not seeing herself until she was in a different environment and people weren't telling her what to do. So Keely for me was the character that I really, really loved. And also, I'm adopted. And so for Keely being adopted, I really was able to get into her skin and really explore some of those emotions and just figure out how she would react, in a very natural way. So I think she was the most fun. I really enjoyed her.
Wow. Now, we're going to stay right there with Keely. Speaking of
Okay.
Keely, she's also navigating several things. She's navigating grief, she's navigating rejection. She's also navigating the longing to like belong. Is there an emotional truth that you're hoping for readers to explore throughout her journey when they're reading the book?
Well, that's an interesting question. I like it a lot. I think I really feel like our culture is a culture of rejection.
Mhm.
I feel like that's a very I think Satan uses it to push people away from each other and from God. And, they just rejection rules our society. And it's gotten worse and worse with social media
Mm.
and everything. But people they're just, when you get hurt and you're sort of like, you've got a cut and it gets inflamed and infected. And so the slightest little touch on it just makes you go, oh, that hurts so much. Right.
Mhm.
That's how we are with rejection in our society. People say things, they may not mean it in a rejection way, but we are so prone to feel rejected that we're like, I'm rejected. And I mean, it's just,
Mhm.
it's crazy. It's gone off the rails. I mean, with social media, you just can't even like, I don't even make comments unless they're like little hearts or likes anymore because I don't want anyone to feel rejected. And I don't even look at it. If I post something, I don't look because I don't want to feel rejected. And, I mean, I see these parents and kids, these kids rejecting their parents for, whatever. And it's just so sad. Okay. So getting back to the question, Bliss lives her life in public. So she's
Mhm.
constantly feeling, that should I do something, will I get rejected kind of thing. And she is an adopted child. So she harbors rejection at her core because adopted
Mhm.
kids, I mean, no matter how much they're loved, they start their life rejected. Right. And you can tell an adopted kid all day long, you're loved, you're loved. And it's true, they are. But it's not until, in my opinion, that wound is healed. And of course, as a Christian, I believe it's healed through, that relationship with God and his acceptance of us. But I just think we walk around with that. So for Keely, she's wearing her heart outside her body,
Yeah.
really, really like scared of getting rejected, so much
Mhm.
so that she doesn't even like talk to Vic hardly, I'm not going to give the story away. So now we got Keely out of her situation where she's not Bliss anymore. And we put her in her natural, authentic self in a community where they don't know her. Well, they do know her, but anyway, I don't want to give the story away. But they don't, from what she can tell, they don't know her. And they just accept her. And she realizes, hey, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to perform anything. I'm just here as a person,
Yeah.
contributing to the community, and they accept me. And I think she, for the first time, I think a lot of it is she takes her eyes off herself and her own fame and her own,
Mhm.
ability to woo the crowd. And she's just there. And she realizes, what, I don't have to perform to get people to like me. They like me for who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's revolutionary for her. And it starts to heal that deep ache inside her. Because I think everybody thinks there's something wrong with me, right? So when
Mhm.
people reject you, you go, oh, it's my fault. I mean, sometimes they go, no, it's their fault because they're mean. But also we pull it in and we say, oh, it's my fault. I must not be okay. There must be something wrong with me. And so
Yeah.
then we either, it either demoralizes us or we fight back and we say there's nothing wrong with us, when actually it wasn't rejection at all. It was probably something having to do with the other person, right? and
Yeah.
and so I don't know, I think I'm just really super aware of rejection in our culture, and I can see it happening around me, and I think, oh, if we just reframed how we spoke to one another, or if we
Mhm.
were able to
Mhm.
just, there's a verse in the Bible that says where words are many, sin is not absent. Maybe we just don't
Mhm.
talk as much, or whatever. And I just think there's, and it talks a lot about, you can set the world on fire with your words, or you can also bring peace with your words. And so
Mhm.
anyway, the story is a lot about just realizing that maybe we don't have to be quite as sensitive. Not everything people say to us is about rejection or pushing us
Yeah.
away. Maybe there are reasons, which, by the way, is part of her journey. When she finally does talk to Vic, she
Yeah.
finds out a
Yeah.
lot of stuff, and there's a lot of healing there, and she finally gets the other side, right? And so
Yeah.
that's what it's really about, is that whole piece of, let's see that there are other ways to look at the
Mhm.
situation than just I'm being rejected.
Yes. Guys, if you're just joining us, we're hanging out with Susan May Warren on today. Hot off the press is A Trap of Courage. And Susan, question for you. Okay, we're going to switch gears just a little bit. I have three words, my friend. And when you hear these three words, as it pertains to Track of Courage, share with us what's the first thing that comes to mind: identity, redemption, and second chances. Identity, redemption, and second chances. What comes to mind for Susan?
Well, first of all, with identity, of course, it's that idea of stripping away who you think you are to get to the core of who you
Mhm.
are. And we build up all of these things around us, and we present ourselves as one person, but in fact, there's somebody inside that's probably more authentic and true. And it's not until you, and that's why I love adventure books. It's like it strips away all of the pretense, and you get down to the core of the people that you are, which I love, because then you
Uh-huh.
can have the hero and the heroine falling in love with who they are in their essence, right? So I love that. So identity redemption is there's so much. I love redemptive stories where like for example, Dawson thinks he's lost. He's too broken to be a cop again. He can never protect someone again, all of those things. And he realizes at the end that maybe he can, it just looks a little bit different. And so he finds that and I always include this thing where it's the hero does or the heroine does something at the end that they can't at the beginning because of the way they've been changed through the story. And part of that was him coming to terms with something that happened in the past and really kind of forgiving himself for his failures and where he failed with it's a gal that died while he was I don't want to get too much into it, but he kind of had to come to grips with that and there was some truth spoken to him at the end that kind of set him free about that. So you have that piece, and I just love it when we have redemption. And it doesn't always have to be like someone pouring out their soul. It could be a small piece of recognition on, oh, maybe I've been believing this lie, and really this is the truth.
Mhm.
Or I've been afraid and I don't need to be afraid anymore
Yeah.
because of this piece right here. So it's like it can be small things, but I think small things add up in our lives. And my hope is that when readers read a story, they say, oh, I see that. I can see that in me.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need to be afraid because of this, right? So I like it
Mhm.
when if I write, readers can identify with characters, and then the truths that the characters can be a blessing to the readers as well. So that's what I love. And second chances, of course, second chances is I love second chances. I write second chances all the time. So it's I have a second chance to fix the past. I have a second chance to be a hero. I have a second chance to be brave. I have a second chance to do the right thing, whatever it is. And so there's a lot of second chances in this story, both with Vic and with
Wow.
Dawson, coming
Yes.
back to the mistakes they've made and then redo them. Mhm.
And we are so here for a second chance
Good
story as
question.
well. Now, Susan, let me ask you about this because, guys, let me tell you, there are some adventures in this romantic suspense as well. When you was writing this, tell me a little bit about this because the plane hijacking, them out in the wilderness survival, all of these scenes are like so vivid. Okay. For you, what kind of research went into writing those moments? Those action-packed moments.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I spend hours and hours doing research, like I mean, I sometimes I think I should just make a list of all the kind of crazy stuff I research in a book, like
Mhm.
what kind of knots would they tie when what kind of layers would they wear? What kind of um, how does ice form so that there could be a hole in the ice in the middle of winter?
Wow.
Um, things like how would a plane go down, how would a bullet react in a plane, in a big plane, in a little plane, how would just everything. I know I'm trying to think of some of the ones I've done just even I
Look,
mean
talk
recently
about
throughout the whole
research and
series.
attention is in the details.
Oh, yes, you have to get it right because I will get letters from people that say, "Well, you don't know that there's that kind of tree in Alaska." And you're like, "Okay, I'm sorry. I will do better." So, yeah, I just did tons and tons of research. I asked people that live there. I also have lived in Siberia, Alaska, a short time in Alaska, Minnesota. I've visited Montana. I'm very familiar with the snow and blizzards. And so, some of it was personal experience as well.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, guys. If you're just joining us, we are hanging out with Susan May Warren on today, guys. Hot off the press is Track of Courage. And of course, guys, we'll be sharing with you in just a bit how you can get your hands on a Track of Courage. And I'll get Susan to spill a little bit of tea and give us a little information about her next book that's coming up in this series as well. But until then, we have a few more questions for Susan. Now, Susan, I want to ask you this, if you can spill some tea for us. Did any of the characters surprise you? And when I say surprise, meaning how their story unfolded, meaning when you was plotting it out and writing it out, you had them going one way and they was like, oh no, we're going this way. Was there any of those type of surprises when you was writing this story, Track of Courage?
Yeah, I so if readers have followed the series, they know that Dawson's sister died or in a previous series, and that's part of his
Mhm.
story. So two things surprised me in this. One was his reaction when he was in a similar situation, and he was afraid, and it started to make him. I didn't realize his vulnerability about that. I didn't realize that he had packed it so far down and that it was still a part
Wow.
of him. Yeah. And the other thing was when I don't want to give it away, but he meets somebody that he hasn't seen for a long time in town, and that somebody they have a reunion, and it's really sweet. And I didn't see that coming either. That just kind of happened on the page. And sometimes I'm writing and I kind of plot a scene and I'm like, oh, I don't know how that'll happen, and it does. Or sometimes I'm just like, I'll think of a brand new kind of scene as I'm writing. So I always plot my books before I write, but I
Uh-huh.
give myself freedom to change the story and this sort of thing. So I think Dawson's inner journey for me was my biggest surprise, just seeing the layers that he had packed down and how he had still had trauma from his past that he had to sort of deal with and come out. So
Wow.
yeah,
Thank you for
yeah,
spilling the tea and giving us a little bit
sure,
of the behind the scene about Dawson's character as well.
sure.
Now, okay, so Susan, we're going to switch gears here a little bit, my friend. We're going to play a little bit of rapid fire, and I'm going to tell you a word or a phrase, and literally you just tell me the first thing quickly that comes to mind. So the
Okay.
first one is Keely in one word.
I think of Bubble. Like, I
Ooh,
feel like she floats around, but you could pop her and find that she's lots of, there's lots of feelings inside of her. So I
okay,
guess that's the
bubble.
I
Oh,
don't know.
I like
Yeah,
it.
like
I like it.
I don't know, but it would have to be squishy and filled with something. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, this is a good one. I am curious to know your answer. Caspian in one word.
Oh, he's faithful.
Oh,
Absolutely.
good word. Oh, I like that.
He's just so underappreciated. But
Okay.
he's just faithful.
Okay. Now, this one, I'm definitely I'm curious about your answer too. The moment that Susan May Warren knew this story had you, the moment you knew that Track of Courage had you.
Mm. Well, there's a scene in the story where there's a fire. A lot of my readers will laugh at me because I often put fires in my book. But when my hero thinks that the heroine is gone and has been kidnapped after the fire, he like loses it and he goes to find her, and his reaction when he finds her to me is like really powerful. So I guess that's when I
Wow.
was like really hooked with these two, because it was hard because it was sort of like an insta romance. Like a lot of my stories, they'll if it's a fast romance, they'll have known each other before, but these two just met. And so like day
Mhm.
3, I've got them falling in love, and that's really fast, and I had to make that realistic and also, but not too fast. And so, but
Right.
it was that moment when I was like, he is in love with her and he doesn't and he just realizes. So yeah, I think that was the scene for me. It was like, it was and that's the funny part is that I wrote that scene. So again, this was a hard book for me to write because I didn't get it right the first time. When I wrote that scene, it was too soon. I had it like happen like the first night that they were there at this place,
Uh-huh.
which you'll find out if you read the book. And I realized after I'd written it, it was too soon. So I had to move it, which meant I had to put other things in between it. So I moved
Wow.
it and it landed in the right place. But the first time I wrote it, it was really soon. And the way he felt about her was very intense. And I was like, ooh, I loved that part, but I realized it's too soon. I got to move it. So I
Well,
did move it,
Susan,
and then it worked
talk
out great.
about spilling the tea. I love that. You are giving us the behind the scene tea. I love it. I love it. Now, let me ask you this. These next couple of questions is pertaining to Keely and Dawson. So between Keely and Dawson, Susan, who would apologize first? Keely or Dawson?
Oh yeah, that's hard. I think Keely would.
Okay.
she feels her frailties more than Dawson does. I mean,
Okay.
he feels his frailties, but he's a man and he's like, I can muscle through. I'm tough, but she's much more like, oh, I know I screwed up. I'll fix that. So that's yeah, I
Wow.
think really, really
Wow.
cool.
Now, staying with Keely and Dawson, who's funnier without trying, Keely or Dawson?
I think Dawson is because he's got a really, really dry sense of humor and he says quippy things and doesn't even realize that he's hilarious. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, dude, you've got issues." So yeah.
Well, now, the next thing that we're going to do, Susan, is we're going to play a quick round of this or that. I promise you, my friend, there's no right or wrong answer because it's all things according to Susan May Warren. Are you ready,
Okay.
my friend?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. First up, helicopter rescue or boots on the ground search?
Helicopter rescue.
Okay. Second chances or fresh starts? Second chances or fresh starts?
Second chances.
Okay. Courage learned or courage revealed?
Courage revealed.
Nice. Oh my goodness. Susan, and thank you so much for doing rapid fire. Thank you
Sure.
so much for this or that. Let me tell you, my friend, the time goes by so as well. But before, guys, I just want you to know that there is a giveaway on this even. Susan's publisher, they are sponsoring a copy of Track of Courage. And so, as Susan, I'm going to get you to help me, my friend. We're going to go up and down the comment section. You're going to tell me when to stop, and then that person will be the winner of a copy of Track of Courage. Are you ready?
Okay. Well, I can't see the screen, so I'm just gonna go
Yep,
because
you
I
just tell
don't
me when to
see
stop,
any
and I got you
comments.
covered. Right, I got you
Okay.
covered.
Ready?
Okay.
Go.
Uh huh. You ready
Stop.
for me to stop? Okay.
Yeah. Yay!
Is it coming? Helen Gibson, she said romantic spins for the win. You are the winner, my friend.
There
If
you
you will
go.
inbox me your information, we'll be sure to get you a copy of Track of Courage. Now, of course, guys, Susan is getting ready to share with us how you can get your hands on a copy of Track of Courage. Guys, it's available in print, it's available in ebook as well. Susan, can you share with us how we can get our hands on a copy of Track of Courage?
Sure, absolutely. So it is available at all the retailers. I would say go to Baker Book House though. They have great
Mhm.
shipping costs. They have really low shipping costs. It's just as fast as Amazon, and you can get everything you need there. So go to bakerbookhouse.com, and I think that's where you should get it. Otherwise, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the other places.
I love that, guys. You hear that you can get it where books are sold. Of course, the Baker Books. Is it Baker Books Publishing or
I think
BakerBooks.com?
I think I can't remember.
Well,
I think it's Baker Book House, but I'm not sure. It might be bakerbooks.com. So sorry, I don't have that information right
no
now off the top
problem.
of my
No
head.
problem. We'll make sure that we put some links in the comment section so they'll be able to see where to get a copy of Track of Courage as well. And of course, Susan, you have to spill the tea about book two. Can you give us the name of book two? And if you want to give us a little blurb or a little bit about book two coming up as well.
Sure. So book two is super fun. It's called Scent of Hope, and it's about this guy, one of the Bowie brothers. His name's Jericho, who has an avalanche dog. Lots of layers, lots of issues there, and his true love. And oh no, her name has now escaped me. Holy cow. I can't think of her name. Anyway, they had a huge falling out when they were young. And if anyone's followed the series, they know that the Bowie brothers' parents died in a plane crash, and her parents were with them at the same time. So these two have history. And she has been tracking these bad guys that are involved in this plane crash for many years. And so she's on the hunt. Jericho comes back into town, and the very, very last person that she wants to see, let alone work with, is Jericho Bowie. So she is, but they are forced together, and they must, sort of work together and untangle their past. And they were sweethearts, and then they kind of went off on their own way. But they've always and they blew up in a bad way. So it was not like sweethearts and then they just drifted. They sweethearts and then explosion, and now they're back, and what are they going to do about it? So it's a true enemies to more, but second chance romance. and partners that they have to work together. And of course, she's got a lot of issues. He's got a lot of layers, and it's very fun. And it's a fun story, very fast paced again. And it features an avalanche dog named Orlando.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, and there you have it. So Susan has spilled some tea. Get a copy of Track of Courage right now. It is available now. And of course, as Susan give us one more time, the name of book 2 that is coming out very soon.
Yes, Scent of Hope.
Sense of Hope. And there you have it, guys. Susan, and thank you so much for joining me on today and talking about Track of Courage and spilling a little bit of tea about book 2, Sense of Hope, that'll be coming out very soon. Can you share with us, my friend, how can we stay connected with you?
So you can go to SusanMayWarren.com. I have a free book there if you want to sign up and get a free book. And then you can get on my newsletter list. I put out a newsletter twice a week. I let people know what's going on. I give away freebies. We get inside scoops on things, all sorts of stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, of course, and X, I think it's called. I don't post a ton on X, but I'm on there too. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, stay connected to Susan May Warren. Get you a copy of Track of Courage. Definitely go to her website so you can stay connected with her. Check out her backlist as well. She has other series, all of that good stuff. And of course, guys, once you read a Track of Courage, leave Susan May Warren a review. I know that she will be so appreciative of you doing that. Not only that, tell a friend to tell a friend that Track of Courage is available now. And Susan, my friend, I have to allow you the last words of what you want to say to the people tonight.
Well, I just am so grateful for readers. If I write the books and I put them out there, but it's you guys that really carry the message. You read the books, you pass them on, and we're in this together. So I really appreciate everybody's support and just reading the stories and telling the word about them. So thanks so much, guys.
I love it. I love it, guys. And there you have it. As Susan May Warren, her new release, A Track of Courage. Get you a copy and tell a friend to tell a friend. That's our show on today, guys. And make sure you stay connected with us. Be sure to follow Susan May Warren. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Angela Anderson's YouTube. And of course, as we always say here at the cafe, have an amazing day because we're having an amazing day. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Have an amazing night. Get a copy of Track